Blessings to all. My name is Max Mupese, and you're now watching Elevate the Mic. And today we have somebody I consider a quote-unquote legend in the scene of Montreal. Somebody who has experience from all across the globe. If we talking about music production, right? So he's a music producer, an entrepreneur, and he wears many different hats. But today we're gonna focus on getting to know him and know more about his story. How you doing, Mr. Steve Pageot?
I'm fine, thank you. How about yourself?
I'm great. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
So I would say it's our second time meeting. First time I met you was pretty short and sweet. I was at an event organized specifically for the city of Montreal and helping emerging artists. Ever since then, I always wanted to know more about you. I wanted to know more about your story. And what's interesting is that I was able to do some research and learn certain things we're going to talk about a little bit later throughout this interview. But I want to ask you, first things first, what inspired you to start your career in the music business or even in the entertainment industry?
Well, music has been in the family for many years. Since the minute I was born, my dad's a musician. So the inspiration comes from him, seeing him with his bass or guitar all day long, you know, practicing, getting ready for his next show. And throughout the years, he transmitted that knowledge to us. So I started playing music when I was 3 years old as a guitar player. And my mom was at work and my dad and we were practicing music. He was giving me my daily guitar lessons, and that's how it all started.
That's interesting. When you say a 3-year-old guitar player, I was thinking about just a TikTok video circulating with a 3-year-old playing guitar, but that's very impressive. That's
Yes.
great. And what would you say if you talk about some moments that really shaped your career, or even moments that transitioned everything from when you started into what you became? What was like the key moments that made a difference in your life, really?
It really started when I saw Michael Jackson winning the 9 Grammys. I think I was 12 years old in 83. And I saw Quincy Jones on stage with him. That's when I was like, this is what I want to do when I grow up. So I visioned that dream and I worked towards it and I made it happen.
Got it. And you also were nominated for Grammys and won a Grammy, if I'm not mistaken.
I won the Grammy, yeah.
That's amazing. You work with great names like Aretha Franklin, all of the above, Diddy at one point, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Sean Puffy Combs. And can you share a memorable moment from your Grammy-winning experience and the emotions you felt at that time?
Yeah, so back in 2003, you see, I was signed to one of Puffy's producers. His name is Ron Lawrence. He's the one who produced Been Around the World, Hypnotize, Money, Power, Respect, all the big hits that were coming out of Bad Boy in 97, 98. So I was under him. So because I was under him, I was like an affiliation of, you know, the hitman. Like every producer had their own producers signed to them. So it was like a little family. So being under him, that's how I managed to work through all the great artists. And in 2003, I remember one day he called me up. He was like, actually, it was, I was at his house and he said, Steve, I'm about to set up this system where I'm going to invite all the songwriters across the United States and we're going to do demos, create demos, songs, to get song placements.
Right.
So I was the one engineering, producing all the demos. So it was like a factory. While I was in the studio working, he already had other artists or songwriters in other rooms. So when I was done, it would be the next one coming.
It's almost like writing camps, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken? Okay,
exactly. And sessions would start like 1 o'clock in the afternoon till 8 o'clock in the morning. So that's why I built my endurance, knowing how to work with different artists, you know what I mean? So that's how I gained my knowledge. And one of the songs we had recorded was for this singer who was signed to Columbia Records.
Okay.
And it took them a month before telling us what they were gonna do with the song. And that same song was sent to L.A. Reid, who was the CEO of Arista.
Right.
L.A. Reid heard the song, he loved it, he gave it to Aretha. Aretha loved it, she recorded it. And the song came out on an album, the So Damn Happy album, in September 2003. So a month later, we hear the song that we worked on, called Wonderful, was nominated for Grammy. And then 3 months later, I was watching the Grammys. I was watching the pre-telecast, and at the bottom of the screen, it says previously won Aretha Franklin for Wonderful. That's when I jumped. I was so happy.
Right.
I was like, wow. And I will never forget this day. It was like yesterday.
Hey.
And that Grammy situation changed my life.
How so? In what way?
I get free things,
Hey.
free equipment. Like, I don't even have to say too much. The fact that I won the Grammy, and you can win Grammys,
Right.
but it all depends with who
Yeah.
you won the Grammy. Me, it's a legend, Aretha Franklin. You know, the only one in Canada. You know, like it's like the red carpet to any event.
Got it.
I got access to whatever I want because of that situation.
Jeez. And that's interesting because when you say that, it's not like you would have to put it on an EPK or something physical. Like, it's gonna be out there because of the fact that your name is there.
Yeah, exactly. And my name's on the credits also. If y'all check out, you know, the album, you'll see my name.
That's good, man. Congrats, man. That's,
Thank you.
That's
Thank
very,
you very
big.
much.
Now, when it comes down to Montreal, because if we look at Montreal, how it influences a lot of entrepreneurs, creatives, right? And how would you say Montreal has influenced your music style or even your creative process?
Well, the fact that there are all types of nationalities, different backgrounds,
Right.
it helped me like listen to all types of music. Like reggae music, Latin music, even music from Greece. I remember I remember one time when we used to live on Bedford Street, and we had a reel-to-reel, and my dad was playing, some Greek music was playing on the radio, and my dad said, you know what, listen to what's playing. You never know, you can get inspired. Even if it's two notes,
Right.
it can add to what you're gonna create. So my ears have been in tune with all types of music. That's why I can go from producing a Latin track to a reggae track, or pop, or R&B, or hip hop, rap music.
Got it.
So the fact that I grew up in Côte-de-Neige, being around the West Indians, Italians, Greeks, it all brought different elements to my inspiration.
Got it. The melting pot of creation.
Exactly.
That's interesting. Okay. And could you tell us a little bit more about the behind the scenes of your Grammy-winning experience and the project that had collaborations involved?
About the Grammy?
Yes.
Well, it was a team effort. It was Ron Lawrence, myself, and two other writers that worked on the album. And I can't forget Prince Charles Alexander. He's a mixer. He mixed Jodeci, Mary J. Blige. So he mixed a song. And Ron Lawrence was involved also, and myself. It was like a strong team working on that one song.
Right. Okay. And it's interesting, when you're in the music industry, what's very important is to stay true to your vision and true to yourself. So what were some things you had to do in order to stay true to your vision while creating in a way where you have to meet certain expectations?
Well, I had to make sure that because I was surrounded with so many great people,
Right.
I had to step my game to be on their level. I had to learn very quickly on how things are done in United States. Because, like I was telling somebody the other day, actually it was a post, what could be great to you could be mediocre to somebody else.
Right, perspective.
You know what I mean? So if you haven't been in a room with the greats, you will never know what it takes to become a great one. So by being in different rooms with Puffy's, with the Ron Lawrence, with Luther Vandross,
Right.
the Wyclefs, you know what I mean? You will never know what you need to do to step your level, your game, to be at their level.
It's very powerful because what you're saying is powerful because I remember one time, I can't remember if it was in an interview or something similar to what, but it was a piece of content. Basically, what I'm saying is that they were talking about how Puffy prepares himself to record a song or even his creative process, and something had to do with him having a whiteboard and writing a bunch of words and just thinking about different ways those words could impact people for their music process. What would you say are some of the ways the quote unquote greats were able to inspire you or even prepare you for that journey?
Them being focused, like the tunnel vision, they don't let anything distract them. And this is the same process I use also. Like when I'm about to go do a session, I clear my mind, I meditate, I make sure I go to bed early the night before. So when I wake up, I don't feel tired. And the most important thing, I pray. So that God can guide me.
You got to keep God on your side.
Always, always. Because you're dealing with different energies. So if you're not focused as a person, one word can off-balance you. But if you're focused, if you know where you're going and you got God leading the way, even if somebody screams, you won't even hear that person because you're so focused on what you're doing. The noise, you're blocking all the noise. And that's the key to making it in the music business. You got to know how to block the noise, knowing who's for real and who's not. And don't let the good taste fool you. You understand what I'm saying? If you see somebody coming in with a Porsche parked outside, you still got to be focused. Because if you're not, your mind's going to be set on this Porsche and not focusing on the real reason why you're in the studio. And it's to create great music.
It's like nothing ain't what it seems. Sugar looks like salt, but it doesn't taste like it.
Exactly. And that's the music industry.
And what are some challenges you've faced or even are currently facing that you were able to overcome?
Well, filtering all the negative people, not taking everything for face value.
Right.
You know, if somebody tells you they're going to call you tomorrow, don't wait by the phone and waiting for their phone call, because most likely that phone call is you're not going to get that phone call. So this is why you always got to remain busy. Like, don't focus on just one project. Do as many things as possible. That way, you're not waiting on people. Because if you wait, you'll never make it.
Right. That's important.
It's like seeds that you're planting. If you have a lot of seeds, one of those seeds is going to flourish. That's how it is in the music business.
Got it.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say this whole DIY mindset in a way where you have to do for self and figure out, not only do for self, but you also have to put your first foot forward in order to invest in yourself or even be self-reliant in a way.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's important to have a team also. Without a team, you're not going to go far. But it's good to learn every aspect of the music business. That way, when you have a team, you can see who's doing the right thing and who's not. And once you see who's not, you can teach them how to do things because you already know how to do it. But you can't be doing everything all by yourself.
Right.
That's not how you run a company. And that's that's one of a challenge. That's a challenge I had to overcome. Because when you first start, you don't have money to hire people. So you try to learn everything. So by doing this for many years, it's hard to let go. And I had to learn how to let go and how to start trusting people. And it's a big challenge because you're used to doing things in your own ways. So when somebody comes and start doing their things, you gotta let that person do their thing so we can all align and go into the same direction.
That opens up many doors in a way where you're able to understand what's best for you, but also for your team.
Exactly.
And especially in a ever growing, the expansion is just incredible with social media. When we're talking about the music business, music industry, there's also social media managers. Now, what are some key components that helped you whenever you thought about, okay, using technology or even having people on your team that could adapt to technology?
Well, I've always surrounded myself with people who are in touch with the current situation, with the current things that are going on. Like, my approach is using the old school ways with the new school. Because things that are done today, like the young kids coming up, they've never seen how it was done in back in the day. So I'm like in between. I've seen how it was done back in the day and seeing the new trends. So I'm combining both of them, and I keep a young crew around me. It's because their vision, they have a different vision, but we have the knowledge that we can combine with their vision, and it makes us even younger on how to do things and the approach of any task. Like nowadays it's the TikTok.
Right.
We don't come from the TikTok world. So I had to adjust myself on how these young artists are using TikTok to get discovered. Back in the day, we had to send our demos, stay in front of the building of a record company label, hoping that an executive would come out and say, hey, can you please listen to my demo?
Right.
But now, you can be on Instagram or TikTok and discovering, and anybody can get discovered. So it's a different way of selling yourself nowadays.
And it's almost like there's no excuse whatsoever, whether it's...
No excuses. No excuses. Now you got the internet, you got Google. If you're reading a book and there's a word you don't understand, you got your computer to go Google it. Me, when I was coming up, I bought the book called All You Need to Know About the Music Business.
Right.
And I had a dictionary for every word I didn't understand. I would go into my dictionary and read the definition. But nowadays, you got Google. There's no reason why you can't make it. It's easy. It's hard, but it's easier.
Right.
Because the competition now is fierce. Because everybody wants to be in the music business. I mean, I'm not gonna say everybody, but a lot of people. People want to become famous.
Yep. It's that cloud chasing aura.
Exactly.
That's something very interesting. Now, when you look at, you said something interesting. You said it's easy, but it's also hard. And you also look at how the French scene is doing very well in Montreal, the French hip hop scene. Now, what would you say the English scene would be missing, or even what's something that could improve whenever it comes down to the hip hop scene in Montreal for the English side?
What's really missing is the lack of coming together.
Right.
That's what's missing. Like if you got the sugar, the salt, the next person has the flour.
Right.
We can all bake something. You understand? We can't all be leaders.
Right.
There needs to be one leader and everybody, come together, that we can all come together and make it happen. You see, and we don't have the English side doesn't have a system where they can go for help. Like on the French side, there are all types of grants,
Right.
Communities to help them. And that's the same thing we should be doing on the English side. And just because we're living in a French province doesn't mean that we can't make it.
Right.
I'm fortunate. I speak French. I speak English. I'm bilingual. I'm trilingual. I'm Haitian. So whatever's going on in the French world, I'm there. Whatever's going on on the English side of Montreal, I'm there too. So as an English person, learn how to speak the French language so you don't get stuck. And it's vice versa for the French person. Learn the English side also. So that way we can be eating here, you could be eating there, so we are all eating.
Right.
We just got to come together because back in the day, it was the English that was running things. The English side of Montreal. And because, things got switched,
Right.
then it kind of fell back.
Got it.
It's just uniting. That's what's missing.
On every level, whether it's promoters, whether it's radio stations.
Exactly. And things got to be done on a level. Like, always think level. Like, always think about what you're going to leave for the next generation.
Right.
Don't just do it for yourself. Do it for your community. Do it for the next kid who's looking at you. Because no matter what, there's always somebody looking at how you're moving. So always make sure you're on your A1 game.
That's it. Yeah, I hope a lot of people who are watching this are taking notice that how small things just like collaboration, working together, are going to make a difference. And, it's going to leave a bigger impact for the next generation.
Exactly.
Got it. Now, when we talk about your experience as a songwriter, could you share the songwriting process and any particular rituals or routines you follow?
Well, I don't really follow routine, and my approach to creating music, it's all about inspiration. I'll listen to different types of music and then get a feel of what I've been listening to. And then off of that, I will start creating. Either I'll just pull out my MPC and start playing with the bass line or some chords. And then that's how the foundation comes. And then the songwriter will come in and then vibe off the track and start doing the top line like a riff. And then the song might even come off of what we're talking about or something that had happened previous night. You know what I mean? So that's my approach. That's my process in creating music.
Got it. And you also take in consideration of the lingo you have to speak with the people you work with, right? Like, for instance, top line, MPC, like for anybody who's watching this has no clue what's going on. You're an artist, you still have to understand the lingo whenever you go in the studio. It's a jargon, right?
Exactly. Even signs. Like, if I'm recording and I go,
Right.
that means get ready. I'm about to press record.
Yeah, that's a gem. It's my first time hearing
like,
that.
if I do this, let's do it over. You understand? Or if I'm trying to listen something and I'll be like, stop talking.
Right.
Those are things that you got to learn about the music, about the studio environment, and studio etiquette. One thing I could say to the young artists, when you go into a studio, it's as if you go into your job, to your 9 to 5. Don't bring a crew with you, because you're there to work.
Right.
And your phone has to be off. Like, you wouldn't be talking on the phone if you're working for your boss, right? It's the same thing. when you go into the studio. You got to be focused. Because what you do in the studio is what's going to help you make a living. So if you don't take that part seriously, it's like you're not taking your career seriously.
I've always found it interesting because I've worked with several artists in the past. I've always found it interesting or fascinating the fact that there's not many people who like to record themselves in the studio, like a professional studio, because it's almost like a sacred space, right? If I'm not mistaken. So how would you view that, for instance, whenever you have somebody you want to collaborate and then they just pull up their phone, hey, I'm just going to film this session?
Well, I tell people there's no time to be filming. You know, we have to work. This is a work process. If you're on your phone, you're not concentrating on what needs to be done. You know, if the phone comes out to record a top line, that's a different story.
Right.
You know, because you don't want to lose the moment. So most of the time, the artists I'm working with, you know, if they have a melody, they'll pull out the phone and start recording, you know, but not being on the phone and recording themselves like throughout the whole session. You know, we have other people doing that for us. Like I'll have a videographer, you know, who will document the entire session. But as far as artist, producer, we have to focus on what's being done.
That's it. Speaking of artists you work with or you've actually collaborated with, you also have an artist at the moment you're managing, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, well, I have a few artists that are signed to Pageot Productions.
Yes.
And the first one that I'm about to put out is, her name is Mamelo. I've been working with her for the last 2 years. You know, I discovered her on Instagram. I went on the page and I heard her voice, and I slid in a DM.
Right.
And I said, I want to produce you.
With etiquette.
With etiquette, exactly.
That's it.
Exactly. And I said, I want to produce you.
Right.
She responded. A week later, she was at the studio. And after we were vibing, and 2 weeks later, she signed a contract. And we've been working together for the last 2 years. And now we're about to release her first single, top of 2024. And her first show as a solo artist on the Pageot Productions is going to be on January 25th. Old Montreal. So I have her. I have Ndaka Yowini. He's an Afrobeat artist, and he's been working with me for the last 2 years. I got a country artist who lives in Edmonton. Her name is Kaylin. She's a country singer. And it's been, you know, the journey has been beautiful.
That's amazing.
Like I'm discovering, I also signed this young artist she's 19 years old. Her name is Sophia. She's like a new Alicia Keys, the new generation.
Right.
She sings, she plays piano, she plays guitar, she writes, and yeah, the journey has been beautiful. I'm discovering a lot of talent in Montreal, and you'll be surprised that they're all hungry. What's been missing in Montreal is that we've never had that one person that we can say, oh wow, I want to be just like her or just like him.
Right.
You understand? So with my experience being in New York, I'm bringing all this back to Montreal. So it's going to be a new era.
That's it. And what I get from what you're telling me is that it's a process, like it's a long, it's not going to be an easy process or quick flip, whatever you're doing, because you said you met your first artist 2 years ago, right? It took basically 2 years for her to actually start her first single or even start her first project. Same thing for her performance. A lot of artists sometimes tend to think that, okay, you know, I get signed to a label and then, or I even get signed to, I have a partnership with certain brand, and it's gonna happen instantly in a few weeks or in a few months. So what are some things that made you realize, okay, you know what? I may not release the song now, but I would have to release it a few years from now, or not a few years, but actually a few months from now, that could make an impact.
What's that question again? I'm
So
sorry.
yeah, that was quite of a long one. So basically, I'm asking in a way where, based on all of your experience, right? You've had artists that, okay, you were able to work with for a few months, a few weeks, and whatnot. But what made you realize, okay, based on the experience I've had, I could release this song in a few months or in a few weeks?
Well, the knowledge I gained, like when you first start your label, you're learning. Me being a CEO was a different hat I had to wear. So the reason why it took this long, well, I can't say it took this long. It was longer with Momelo. She was my first artist. I want to make sure that every step of the way was done properly. So I gained a lot of experience. Although she signed to me, but I also learned on how to work with an artist. You know, it's not all about us. You know, you gotta learn about the artist. You know, their process of working. You know, so when it comes to the next artist, you will know, okay, A, B, and C weren't done properly. Now, in order to advance, let's go back to what wasn't done properly and do it the right way the next time.
Got it.
Not that anything was done in a bad way, but it's like cooking. When you first go into the kitchen, even though you got all the ingredients, but you don't know what to do with them. After a few months, after a few years, you can go in there in the kitchen and within 30 minutes,
Yes.
you're done. But the first time you go into the kitchen, everything is, you got to think about how you're going to use the salt. What else you got to add. It's the same thing with music. When you're running your label, you get more experience, and being with a team, it helps to go faster. Like now, when I first started, I was dolo. Now I got a great person who was Puffy's A&R for 25 years. His name is Hughes
Okay.
Felizar. So he moved back to Montreal, and he's the VP of Pageot Productions.
Amazing.
So he's the one who worked with French Montana, MGK, Danny D. Kane, Day 26, Puffy's albums. So he understands how to run a label.
Okay.
So by having him next to me, with me, it helps the whole journey. And that it makes it go faster.
As a Grammy winner, how do you approach the responsibility of being a role model for aspiring musicians?
Well, my approach is I have to lead the way. And whatever I do will reflect on the entire establishment. For my label and as a Grammy voting member. So these artists they always have to see me in the best shape possible, in the greatest light, so that I can always be taken seriously. When an artist comes to me, I want them to feel that they're in good hands. They're with somebody who's gonna care about their future. Somebody who's responsible, who understands what it takes and what we need to go to the next level. Just like when I'm around Puffy or Russell Simmons or whoever, the way they conduct themselves makes you see that there's no time for BS.
That's it.
So anyone who comes to me, they have to feel that if they don't jump on this opportunity, they're gonna lose their chances to work with me.
That's it. You setting an example,
Exactly.
so to speak.
Exactly.
And one artist that you mentioned who's very exceptional, somebody you really are focusing on at the moment, her name, I don't want to screw her up.
Her name is Momelo.
Momelo, thank you.
Yes.
What would you say is something that made you realize, okay, she's the one, she has a lot of potential compared to a lot of other artists you've worked with?
Because she keeps calling me every time, like at least, she keeps calling, asking for studio time, for studio time, for studio time. Like, it becomes to a point where if the artist is not annoying you, like,
Right.
it means they don't really want it. You understand? And her devotion, she's passionate. She tells me if she doesn't do that, she will be sick for the rest of her life.
Okay. So it's like a drug now.
Yeah. And the fact that if it was up to her, she'll be in the studio all day long. And the moment I realized that about her, I was like, oh, this is somebody who's gonna go very far in the music business. You know what I mean?
So you almost have to have this obsession, burning desire of not stopping whatsoever.
Exactly. Like, when you wake up, the first thing that should be on your mind is doing music. Even if you're doing something else, it should be music. You're talking to your girlfriend or to your boyfriend, your mind has to be like, when are we gonna finish this conversation so I can go back to my music?
That's it.
It has to be number one. You can't have one foot in and one foot out. That's not how the music business works. It's head first. It's a do or die situation. And that's what I like about Momelo. It's a do or die situation for her.
Okay.
And she has the talent. She writes. She's very creative. And this is something that I would see a lot in New York. And she has it.
It's different. So
It's different.
it sets her apart from the competition and everybody else.
Exactly. And that's what I love about her. She's very talented and focused. Like, I bet you if I call her right now, she's probably in her basement working on a song. That's how I know how she works, her process. And I keep telling her, before Momelo and after Momelo, she's gonna set the level of what it takes to be an artist.
And I've always told myself, Canada specifically, and then we could say Montreal, we've had Celine Dion. She did an amazing job. Shout outs to her. I feel like now still missing that one female artist that could really change everything.
It's Momelo.
And hey,
Trust me. Like,
you don't feel like you're putting too much pressure at this point?
Nah. I don't know if I'm putting pressure on her.
Exactly.
But I know what I saw the first time I saw her. The minute she walked in the studio, I was like, oh,
okay.
I got my Michael Jackson.
Okay.
And I tell her every day, every time we talk, I say, you know how big you're gonna be? But she doesn't see it.
Right.
But she knows she's talented, but she doesn't see what I see for her. And what I see for her is global artists, like well-known, winning Grammys, Billboard Awards, MTV Awards. Trust me, in the next few years, we're gonna come back to this interview and you're gonna be like, oh, Steve was right. I know when I see talent. I've been around so many talented people. So I know the moment you walk into my studio, I already know if it's gonna be worth my time or not. So make sure y'all go get that song, download that song, stream that song when it comes out. Her first single is called Fantasy. And trust me, Montreal's gonna be proud.
On every platform, we could get that.
It's gonna be on every platform. And I'm lucky also, last year I signed a deal with The Orchard. It's a company under Sony Music Canada. And we have a global distribution deal for Pageot Productions. So her song's gonna be heard throughout the world.
Okay.
We're moving like majors.
Man, I want to ask you a few more questions before we finish. Before even asking that question, I noticed something very unique about you. Is that music producers sometimes are able to discover talent or even work with different talents that are gonna bring their game to a certain level. And I could tell that you have the ability, or even you have an ear or eye for talent that really makes you different from other music producers or other creatives or even entrepreneurs in the music industry. So what would you say to anybody who has the ability to spot talent to really spot talent or even discover talent? How could they nurture it or even lead them a certain way?
Well, what helps me also, that sets me apart from every producer, is I'm a musician.
Right.
I'm classically trained. I've been playing music since I was 3 years old. My main instrument is a flute. You know, I played on big records like Listen by Talib Kweli. That's me playing the flute.
Okay.
Every song I've produced, you'll hear my flute. So being a musician, being trained, learning the theory, solfège, I can hear, you can play me something on the guitar and I can write it. That's the training I got. I was in the choir in high school. So all this knowledge helps me point out great talents. You know, it's the science behind my knowledge of music. So the moment somebody sings, I already know what needs to get done to improve their talent. And the fact that growing up, I would always look at the big stars, see how they dress, see how they walk, hear how they sing. So when I see somebody, a young artist, I already know if they have it or not.
Got it.
It's instinct and knowledge, and it's something that God gave me.
Right,
that
it's a gift.
It's a gift.
Yeah.
It's a gift. It's just a gift. I can't even break it down. You know, so it's just a gift.
Got it. One thing I want to know is, what are you currently working on? Because I know that you have Steve Pageot Production, if I'm not mistaken.
Pageot Productions.
Pageot Productions, thank you. What are you currently working on that you wish or even want you want it to have a certain expansion as far as what you're building?
Sign producers, songwriters, so they can have a label to work with, and just nurture the next greats of Montreal. The thing about what's going on right now, the fact that we are in Montreal, I'm in Montreal, the talented singers, they won't have to go to the United States, to New York, to focus, to go after their dreams. We're creating the music business in Montreal so that people from outside of Quebec will come to us, create the platform, create the hub of all the different talent that's in Montreal and that we're about to discover.
That's it.
So my dream is to make Montreal the next music capital of the world. That way, the buzz will be focused in Montreal. New York had their turn, LA had their turn, Atlanta, Miami, now it's Montreal.
That's it.
The knowledge, that and the experience that we have, that we're putting into these artists to make them global artists, people won't have a choice but to look at Montreal. And once one artist blows up, it's gonna bring in money for the entire city. It's gonna create jobs for the videographer, for the makeup artist, for the publicists, for the newspaper, for podcasts. The light will be on us.
Perfect. Amazing. Well, thank you, Steve, man. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me.
And all I could say is that I see great things happening not only for you, for your team, and everybody who's inspired by what you're doing.
Thank you very much.
All right. Love, man.
Love.